Hey everyone! So originally my plan for this week's video was to do another movie type vlog where I watched one of the new Criterions I got in my collection. But sadly, the Xbox I use for my Blu-ray player is not working right now. At least the disc drive for it is not working right now. So I contacted a local shop that specializes in repairing those types of consoles, I guess you can say, and they're in the process of repairing it right now. So yeah. So I thought to myself, what else could I do for this weekly video? And that is when I decided on doing the video that I've been wanting to do for the longest time. So this was a video I wanted to do ever since I started doing YouTube about 3 months ago. And it's basically a video on physical media. Now, I'm not going to be talking about all forms of physical media like music and comic books and books or all that stuff. I'm mainly going to be focusing on movies because that's really the only type of physical media that I really collect. So, as I'm sure we're all aware, physical media is slowly dying. It's dying. There's no way to deny that. As much as I hate to say it, it's dying. It's sadly dying. And that is largely due to the emergence of and popularity of streaming services such as Netflix, Amazon Prime, Hulu, and most recently, Disney+. But despite the popularity of streaming services and the fact that I have all of these streaming services and then some, I continue to be a huge collector and supporter of physical media. But at the same time, as I acknowledged in the beginning, I am more than aware that it is a dying thing, physical media in general, especially for movies. But neither of this has stopped me from being a huge collector of physical media. And this video is basically going to explain the main reason why I collect physical media. But before I delve into the main reason on why I still collect physical media, I'm going to give you guys the story of how I started collecting physical media and how it really blossomed my love for movies. So it all began around 5.5 years ago. I was a 14-year-old kid, just finished middle school, and basically all of a sudden I realized I wanted to start collecting DVDs and VHSs of movies and TV shows that I really, really loved. Mainly ones that I really enjoyed from my childhood, such as, I don't know, SpongeBob SquarePants, Thomas the Tank Engine, Drake and Josh. Basically all the shows and movies I liked as a kid. And I was really just going to collect that because back then, I was not a movie guy by any standard. I really was not crazy about movies in general, seeing new movies, etc. For example, I didn't care about seeing any movies that I hadn't seen before unless they were sequels to movies I had seen when I was a kid, such as the Toy Story franchise. And that was also the case with TV shows. So basically, the summer after I finished middle school, the summer of 2015, I started going to thrift stores and flea markets, basically collecting VHSs and DVDs of movies and TV shows I really liked as a kid. But after that summer, and in the fall of my freshman year of high school, I started to really blind buy things. For example, I would go to my local thrift store, I would see a movie on VHS or DVD that sounded interesting. I'm like, I want to buy this. And then I would buy this. And throughout my freshman year, this blind buying of VHSs and DVDs and movies I haven't seen would blossom into an overall love of film. So basically, physical media really, really jump-started my love for film. Which, as I said before, I really wasn't a huge film fan. I was very picky with the films I watched, but ever since collecting physical media, I really have been an avid film watcher, an avid film fan, And when I first started getting into movies, I did not collect Blu-rays. I only collected VHSs and DVDs, especially VHS, because, whenever I would go into a thrift store, I would buy many VHSs of movies I either hadn't seen or movies I had seen before and liked, because they were just so cheap. I would buy, so many of them at one time. there were times where I would buy like 30, 40 something VHSs in one shopping trip because they were just so cheap. And yeah, and I still had a working VCR back then. So, and that is why in my room tour video, you see that I had quite a bit of VHSs. I actually had a lot more than that in the past, but just this past year or two, I donated most of them. So, and same thing with my DVDs. Like, my DVD collection used to be much bigger, but I ended up donating a lot of those as well when I really got into Blu-ray. For like the first year or two I was into movies, I would mainly buy movies in thrift stores for like a very cheap price, mainly on VHS, but also some on DVD as well. But that all started to change in my junior year of high school, so around 2017 to 2018. In late 2017, I really started to become interested with the idea of buying Blu-rays. And I have an Xbox One, and at that time I realized that it could play Blu-rays. So I was like, maybe I should start collecting Blu-rays. And that is what I started doing. In February 2018, I bought my first 2 Blu-rays at one of my local thrift stores for like really cheap price. I think they're like $2 or $3 each, but I can't remember the exact price. And for like the first few months of me collecting Blu-rays, I only would get them like occasionally. Like, for example, by the end of my junior year of high school, I only had like 5 or 6 or something like that. But probably no more than 10. But that would all change between the summer of 2018, before my senior year of high school, and November 2018, when I was in the fall semester of my senior year of high school. 2 big things happened on those dates which really skyrocketed my Blu-ray collecting. The first, which happened in the summer 2018, was that I got my very first job. It's the job I still have today at an indie movie theater near me. And the second factor that would lead me to like really, really start collecting Blu-rays like crazy was that for the first time ever, I got my own like Amazon and eBay accounts on which I could buy Blu-rays online. And yeah, the collecting would just skyrocket from there. And yeah, I've been collecting Blu-rays ever since, and I don't see myself stopping my Blu-ray collecting anytime soon. Like, I'm aware about 4K Blu-ray, but honestly, I'm not in a rush to like really get into the 4K craze. Like, for one thing, I only have first generation Xbox One, which only plays Blu-rays. And another thing, honestly, I just don't think 4K is like worth the upgrade. I feel like there's not enough stuff on 4K, or like enough of a video like quality like improvement, at least from what I've seen, to really like get into the 4K format. Like, I have a couple 4K Blu-rays, mainly because I feel like the steelbooks of them are cool, but as of now, like, I'm just not gonna get into 4K. So yeah, that's basically the story of how physical media got me into movies. But now let's get into the main reason on why you guys clicked on this video, which is for me to express the main reason why I still continue to collect physical media in an increasingly digital world. And while there are other reasons on why I still continue to collect physical media, especially bonus features, the main number one reason on why I still continue to collect physical media, and I know many of you guys are going to completely agree with me on this, is that no matter what happens, you're always going to have that specific movie in your collection if you own it on physical media. Now, don't get me wrong, as I stated before, I still do use streaming services. Like, Blu-rays are not the only things I watch movies on. I also watch movies on Netflix, Amazon, and all that stuff. And those streaming sites are also great places to discover new movies you haven't seen before. Like, for example, I use places like Netflix, Amazon Prime to watch movies I haven't seen before that are on the app. And if I really like those movies, then I will buy them on Blu-ray. Like, for example, The Edge of 17. This was a movie I've been wanting to see since it came out, but I never got the chance to watch it until it came to Netflix. So I watched it for the first time, I think, like 1 year, 2 years ago. And I remember highly enjoying this movie. This is definitely one of the better coming-of-age films to come out in recent years. And because I liked it so much, I ended up buying the Blu-ray, and I'm glad I did because it's no longer on Netflix. So, and I also don't just watch movies on streaming services whenever they're on streaming services. I'll also watch movies I've been meaning to see for the longest time on Amazon. Like, I'll rent them on Amazon for like $4, $5, $6 and watch them. And like with Netflix, if I really like the movie, I'll end up buying it on Blu-ray. Like, for example, take the movie Ed Wood. I've been wanting to watch this movie for the longest time. I never got a chance to see it. It never appeared on any streaming services, Netflix, Amazon Prime, Hulu, none of that. And I decided to rent it because I've really been wanting to see this. And I rented it for like, I think $4 or $5. And I highly enjoyed this movie. And I was like, I need to get the Blu-ray. And I ended up ordering the Blu-ray from Amazon, and yeah, now I can watch it whenever I want. Don't get me wrong, streaming services are a great place to discover movies that you haven't seen before, or to rent movies you haven't seen before, but they're not always going to be on those streaming services. So because they're not going to be on streaming services forever, I will buy the movies once I've seen them so I can rewatch them whenever I want. And this is not just for movies that are on Netflix and will eventually leave Netflix. I also do the same for movies that are like Netflix exclusive or Amazon Prime exclusive if they are on physical media, because usually, most of the time, as we all know, films that are released exclusively on streaming sites like Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Prime are usually not released on physical media. But whenever they are, I try to take advantage of that. For example, two Netflix original movies I really, really like a lot are Marriage Story and Roma. And when I watched them, at the time I had no way to own them, but when I found out they were coming to Criterion, and when the Criterion sale happened this past summer, I just had to get my hands on them. Like, I love these movies so much that I just need to own them in the highest quality I can get them. So, now, I can see why someone will criticize me for doing this, like, why are you spending like $20 on Blu-rays that are always going to be on Netflix? It's just, I just want to own them, like, you know? I just don't feel satisfied until I own the movie. Like I truly do not have the movie unless I actually own it on a physical format. I don't care if it's a Netflix exclusive. I don't care if it's always going to be on Netflix. I want to own movies I see on sites like Netflix, Hulu, and Amazon Prime, and own them if I get the chance. There's just no better feeling than having the feeling of physically owning films you love. And I understand, in comparison with the general public, I'm in the minority with this. Like, most people I know would rather deal with those problems than have to buy movies on physical media because it's just so convenient for them. And don't get me wrong, I understand I am in the minority with this, not necessarily in the movie community, because I know there's a lot of other people in the YouTube movie community that feel the same way as me, but just in comparison with the general public in general, like, despite the problems I just mentioned, most of them would rather deal with those problems than have to buy movies again, mainly because it takes up so much space. And I can understand that. Like, look how many movies I have in the background. Look how much space that takes. But for me, that's really not much of a problem because I love collecting this stuff. I love owning all these movies. But at the same time, I can understand why the average person would not want to store up on all their favorite movies, especially if they have a lot of favorite movies, because it just takes up way too much space. And space is far from the only issue among the general public in terms of owning movies. Many people just find it a lot more convenient to stream stuff, to watch movies on streaming. Like, I've seen a video or two of how movie people I watch on YouTube talk about how it's just so much more convenient to stream than to, like, literally pick up a movie and put it in the player and watch it. And while I personally don't understand those concerns, for me it's not a big deal. I can see that for a lot of people, like, they just do not want to take the time and effort to, like, find the movie they want to watch in their collection and then just put it in the player. But despite all this, I plan on continuing to collect physical media for the foreseeable future. Not because I just want to own the movies I like, but because I want to keep it alive for as long as I can. And I see myself collecting physical media as keeping it alive, as helping it keeping it alive. And that is what I intend on doing for the foreseeable future. But yeah, anyways, thank you guys so much for watching this video. Sorry it took longer than expected to come out. I've just had quite a bit going on throughout my winter break. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you guys have a happy holidays and hopefully a much better 2021. And also in the comment section below, please let me know your opinions on physical media. Do you still collect it? How much of it do you collect? Do you only collect like certain things? Or have you just moved on to streaming? I would love to hear your opinion. My opinion is not the only like one that matters. Like, I would like to hear from all of you. Yeah, thank you all again for watching this video. And I hope you all, as I said before, have a safe and happy holiday season. And let's hope for a much better 2021.